Alright everyone, welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. We have another baking day ahead of us today. We are going to try to get done. We're going to make our dough for our brownie cookies, and it has to chill in the fridge for several hours. We're going to decorate our sugar cookies, and we're going to try and get our peanut butter Cheez-Its done. My grandkids were with me for a week, and even though I had planned what I was going to get done around that time, I ended up with a cold, and so my schedule's kind of off. So we'll see what we get done today, but that is the plan. Alright, welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey. As I said, we're going to be doing another baking video today, or Christmas goodie video. So the first thing that we are going to get started on is we're going to make our dough for our brownie cookies so that we can get that in the fridge and get it started chilling. Okay, so our chocolate cookie recipe, I normally 12 times this because one recipe makes only a dozen cookies. I think I might just, let me think about this. I think I might just do 6 times the recipe and see how much that gives me, and then I can make more if I need to. So first thing we want to do is, I've got some unsweetened baker's chocolate here, and I want to get that melting. So let me get a bowl. I'm just going to break this up a little bit into the squares so that it melts a little easier. Okay, well this one is all crumbled, so I guess I'll make 8 recipes. While we've got our chocolate melting, we can go ahead and add our other ingredients into our stand mixer. And I'm going to need to go get some more sugar. Alright, so we're going to add our sugar. We'll go ahead and add our eggs. We've got our eggs in and our chocolate is melted, so we're going to go ahead and add, actually we need to let the chocolate cool for a little bit. So we've got our eggs in, our chocolate's all melted, we're going to let it cool just a little bit. We don't want to add hot chocolate into our egg and sugar mixture. I'm going to add some oil. And we're going to add our vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and mix this stuff up a little bit while our chocolate is cooling. And then we'll just mix our chocolate in. I'm going to go ahead and add our chocolate. I don't know what I normally melt this in. I don't think it's this. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pour it in here so that I can get it in my mixing bowl a little easier. I probably usually melt it in one of these. I just wasn't thinking. The bowl's still hot. Oh my goodness. Now that I've managed to get chocolate pretty much on everything. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and get the chocolate all mixed in the sugar and oil and egg mixture. All right. We're gonna go ahead and mix up our dry ingredients in another bowl. So we're gonna get our dry ingredients mixed together in this other bowl so that we can add it kind of slowly. To our flour, we're going to add baking soda and baking powder. I'm glad I looked at that again. To our flour, we're going to add baking powder. And some salt. And then we're going to mix that all together before we add it to our chocolate mix. So we're going to gradually add this then to our chocolate mixture. Now that this is mixed, we're going to go ahead and get it off of our beater. And I'm going to give what's in the bowl a stir, just to make sure we don't have any unmixed ingredients in there, flour, chocolate, something. And it's a really thick dough, but we're going to roll it into balls before we bake it, and so we need it to be a little bit stiffer. So we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. Cover this with plastic wrap, and we'll stick it in the refrigerator while we work on these other recipes, and then we'll finish this later this afternoon. And I was going to finish the sugar cookies and get those frosted, but I think I'm going to go ahead and start on the peanut butter Cheez-It little candy cookie thing. So I'm going to clean this mess up, and then I can get started laying out my supplies for the peanut butter Cheez-Its. Next thing we're going to start on is our peanut butter Cheez-Its. Now, these are super simple. They're so easy to make, and they're so delicious, but I always dread making them because they are so time consuming. So I'm going to lay out a couple sheets of foil here, and I don't know if I need this much. I might not. And then I just use, so there's a couple different ways you can do this. What we're going to do is put peanut butter between two little Cheez-It or little cheese crackers. They don't have to be cheese. I've used the store brand before, and they are just fine. I bought these at Sam's, and so of course all you can get is the store. So what I normally do is lay these out so that they are top side down, flat side up. Doesn't really matter in the long run, but it makes it a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to lay these out. And as long as they are mostly whole, then I use them. If they're completely broken or if they're just little pieces, I just push them to the side because they're hard to use. So like, obviously I'm not going to use that. Sometimes it's hard to tell what the bottom and what the top is too, but that's okay. I'm just going to lay them out. And then I'm going to fill them with peanut butter. So you can use a knife and just smear some on there. What I've found in the past is that if I put my peanut butter in one of these big bags that doesn't have any sort of tip, it's pretty easy to just squeeze and fill those Cheez-Its as you go. So I've poured out what looks like approximately half the bag. And then once I get these all filled, I'll go ahead and top them with the other cracker, and then I'll see how many I have left, and I'll kind of divide those so that I can get as many as possible in my little sandwiches. One thing I did discover though is that when you're doing these, it generally works better if you use a name brand peanut butter versus a store brand, only because the name brand tends to be a little more creamy than the store brand. The store brand does work, and I've used it before. And once the peanut butter kind of gets warm in the bag from your hands, it doesn't really matter, but I almost always buy the store brand for us to just have at home. Unless there's a really good sale on something, but typically I buy the store brand. But I generally go ahead and buy the name brand for these little treats. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this bag with as much peanut butter as I can get in it, because it's a pain to fill it a second time, after you've used what's in it and you're trying to refill it. It's kind of a pain. I'm going to put maybe a little more, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of this jar, and we'll see how far that gets us. That should get us pretty close to doing these 2 boxes, I believe. So if you kind of squish the peanut butter around and it starts warming up from your hand, that makes a big difference. And this cold is making my throat so dry that I've been having to drink so much liquid, and I found that either something hot like hot tea or something bubbly like a soda makes my throat feel the best. I'm not sure why those bubbles help, but they do. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started. And I've tried doing them where you don't pick up the cracker. Doesn't work. The peanut butter sticks and it drags the cracker all over. So I just smear out a little peanut butter, pick up the next one, and move on. And then, like I said, it does get easier as the peanut butter warms up in your hand. got this first approximately half done. So now I'm going to start topping these. And all I'm doing is just making little peanut butter cracker sandwiches that we are then going to dip in some almond bark when they're all done. Okay, so I'm going to pull out whatever full crackers are left. And I'm going to split those in half, and I'm going to put peanut butter on half of them and just finish out this package. So I've got all of my peanut butter Cheez-It sandwiches made, and now I'm going to start melting some almond bark so that I can dip them. And I usually start with white just so I don't have to wash my bowl out when I switch to chocolate. And then I always add just a little bit of shortening. It just thins it out just a little bit. I'm sorry, I have a cough drop. So if my speech sounds a little weird, that's why. I add a little bit of shortening because that kind of helps thin that out just a little bit, and it's easier to dip the little sandwiches. So I'm going to start melting this in the microwave about 30 or 40 seconds at a time until it's completely melted and smooth, and then we'll start dipping our little cookies. And it usually takes several minutes to get this completely melted down, but you do want to do 30-45 seconds at a time, especially as it gets more melted so that you don't burn it. Because trust me, you do not want to burn this almond bark or candy melts. It is awful if you burn it. Ask me how I know. This is all melted, so we're going to just start dropping these in. I usually do about 5 at a time when I first start it. And as the level of almond bark gets lower in my bowl, I just reduce the number of little cookies that I drop in there at a time. I used all that first batch, so I'm going to melt a little bit more. And then once I have covered all of this batch of little cookies, then we will switch to the chocolate almond bark and do the same thing. By the time I'm done with these, I have almond bark and candy melt all over my counter, but that's all right. I don't clean any of it up until I'm done with everything. That way I only have to clean it once. All right, so we're getting close to being done with the white covered ones. Ow, that bowl's hot. And then once we're done with all of those, we'll start on the... Once everything is done and the candy is totally hardened back up, then I'm going to use the red and green candy melts that I made sure that I saved from the pretzels. And we're going to just melt those and drizzle them over the tops of these little cookies. That is absolutely not necessary. I just do it because I think it makes them look a little more festive. So it looks like we're going to have just a little bit of the white almond bark left. And so I'll just take a spoon and just kind of spoon it over some of the ones that look, some of them end up looking a little thin as I get towards the bottom because the candy melt or the almond bark runs off, or I squeeze it off with the little tongs. So I'm just going to use this little spoon. I just have a little tiny bit left. So I'll just spoon this over some of the thinner looking pieces. All right. So there's all of our white ones. I'll turn this way and then I'll go ahead and start on the chocolate ones. Spoon of shortening in there just to thin it out just a hair, and then I'm going to put it in the microwave and we'll get this one melting. We'll just keep dipping until they're all done, and if I have to melt some more to get through the rest of them, then we will go ahead and do that, which I might, based on how much it took to do the white ones. I probably will need to melt a little bit more. They start getting a little slippery. All right, I have just a little bit left, so I'm going to break some more in here. I have these few pretzels, or I have these few little Cheez-It sandwiches left to do, so I need just a little bit more chocolate. But I probably don't need a half. So let's see. Alright, hopefully that will be enough. Okay, we've got all of the little Cheez-Its coated now, so we're just going to let them sit and dry. While those are drying, we're going to move on and we're going to go ahead and make our chocolate crinkle cookies. Leave that covered for a second. We're going to preheat our oven to 350. And I've got 2 cookie sheets here lined with parchment paper. So these cookies, I'm going to take a couple of steps. I'm going to put some powdered sugar in a bowl. And in another bowl, I'm gonna open these candy cane kisses. And we're gonna do these cookies like a peanut butter blossom. So after they come out of the oven, we're going to stick one of these candy cane kisses in the center of each cookie. And I like to get some of them open before I get started so that I can get into kind of a rhythm of the whole process of rolling, scooping, rolling, baking, candy, all that. Otherwise, it's easy to kind of get behind and not have your candies ready to go on your cookies. Go ahead and open the candy in one whole package. Okay, candy, powdered sugar. So what we're going to do is we're going to scoop out, and I use my small cookie scoop, roll it into a ball, roll it in powdered sugar. So what I do is go ahead and fill up 2 trays, get them in the oven, and then while they're baking, I go ahead and fill up 2 more trays. All right, I'm going to put these first 2 trays in the oven for about 10 minutes, and then I'll check them. It could take up to 12 or 13. I'm still getting used to how certain things bake in this oven, but usually 10 to 12. Okay, first 2 trays went into the oven. I'll set the timer for 10 minutes. If we need a couple more minutes, after that timer goes off, then we will add another 2 minutes or so. But now I'm just going to go ahead, do the same thing, get these trays filled up. And then, depending on how much time I have between batches being done, I'm going to go ahead and stick this bowl back in the refrigerator, because you don't want to let this dough get too warm because it will be really hard to work with. So based on the number of recipes that we made, we should end up with about 8 dozen cookies. Of course, it's always approximate. This is usually pretty close though. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in the refrigerator. And I'll get these last 6 rolled in the powdered sugar and on the cookie tray. And of course, if you don't like peppermint or candy cane, if you don't like that mint flavor, you can leave them completely, leave the kisses completely off. Or, you know, there's a million different kinds of Hershey's Kisses now, so you can pick whatever flavor you like and use that if you prefer. I really like the peppermint, the candy cane flavor with the chocolate. I have a friend who does not like mint at all, so she hates these. She also doesn't like cucumber or banana, so I think she's a little weird. Let's see if these are done. No. We're going to give them a couple more minutes. Let's check these again. Oh, whoops. Okay. These look done. Oops. I'm going to get these out. And then we'll go ahead and put the other 2 trays in. So I went ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes again for the next 2 trays, and we'll check them when the timer goes off and see if they need any more time. So while those are cooking, we're going to go ahead and take our candies and just push them down into the middle of these crinkle cookies, just like you would a peanut butter blossom. And then we'll let these cool for a few minutes on the pan, and then we'll move them to a sheet of foil that I have on my counter. Alright, so the last batch of these chocolate crinkle cookies are in the oven. We ended up with 8.5 dozen. So I'm going to go ahead and melt some of the candy melts and spritz them, or drizzle them on these peanut butter Cheez-Its. Alright, so I've got the green candy melts all melted. And I do add a little bit of shortening when I melt these, just so that it's easier to kind of spread these over these little cookies. Oh, I'm getting them on my little chocolate crinkle cookies. Oh well. So I actually had too much green for the white cookies, so I sprinkled it over some of the chocolate cookies so they have red and green, and they actually look really pretty. So maybe I'll melt some more red and add it to those. I don't know. Anyway, so the peanut butter Cheez-Its are done. Our chocolate crinkle cookies are done. So the next thing we're going to work on is frosting or decorating, I guess, our sugar cookies that we made together the other day. So I'm going to get some of this stuff cleaned up. I'm going to let this stuff sit until everything's cool and the candy's all hardened up so that I can package some of this stuff up, or at least get it out of my way, and then we will start working on the sugar cookies. So, surprise, I did not get my sugar cookies frosted like I had planned. So that will be in a separate video. But we did get our crinkle cookies done, and we got all of our Cheez-Its done. So that was a big accomplishment. And so I just want to thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Just remember, if you sign up for my newsletter, you can get 5 free recipes. And if you would like the entire set of the recipes that I've used this year that are mine or my grandma's, there's a link in the description box that will take you to a site where you can purchase that set for $5. So be on the lookout for my next Vlogmas video, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Bye guys.